Hey everyone, it's your boy Kev, and welcome to our E3 2015 audio reaction show. Yay! Oh man, day one is in the books, and as we're looking towards day two, we got a lot of exciting things that have been happening today. Oh my gosh, so much things happened in day one. Man, so it's too much for me to really talk about. So if you want like more in-depth coverage, there's always other websites. But this is my reaction to the E3 coverage of day one E3 coverage. So this is something that I'm mad excited about. I decided I would, when I started to do these reactions, these audio reactions, I thought it would be good to, I thought it would be good to just focus on the two big press conferences, and maybe if I could get like little highlights from a lot of the smaller stuff. I decided to forego the Microsoft stuff because I was kind of like, Microsoft, I'm not really big on that. I don't really have a console. I've kind of played a little bit of the Xbox and the Xbox 360, and maybe a little teeny amount of the one, but I'm not really, that really doesn't interest me. But what does really interest me are Sony and Nintendo. Because if I'm not playing a Sony console, I'm usually playing a Nintendo console. So those two companies are really nearest and dearest to my heart, definitely. So I decided I'd do some coverage of those. I got a full list of the Sony press conference. I wrote down everything that I saw, and I'm going to try to give my best take on what I seen from the Sony. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a highlight from, from Bethesda, uh, Ubisoft, EA. I believe that was about it. Yeah, I believe that was about it. So, so I'm going to give a good synopsis of those, kind of like a mashup of those before I really start talking into the Sony stuff. Because we got a lot to talk about in the Sony stuff, but we're not going to get there yet. Okay, with Bethesda, they pretty much talked about Bethesda properties. Like they talked about a new Elder Scrolls Online, and they talked about a new Doom, which I'm like, okay, I hadn't played Doom since computer class, since like Doom 1 in LAN during my computer class. Man, those were the days. I loved playing that game in multiplayer. I think that was one of my few one of my few first forays in like LAN multiplayer, like playing in a LAN party. So that was pretty cool, and I got credit for that. So that was also great. Playing games and getting college credit. Hey, whoop whoop, loving it. So yeah. So they talked about Doom, and they talked about Fallout 4, and yeah, it's for a person that's never played a Fallout game before, it looks pretty good. I seen what they did with 3. 3 was kind of big, and now 4 is like really big. It's got me kind of like, that's something I might want to kind of take a gander at, maybe on the PC or whatever. And I'm like, maybe, if it looks interesting or if I feel like it, I might get into it. Yeah, sure. So they talked about, they basically, they just pretty much fell into that. So they talked about Vault, they talked about VATS again, they talked about there's more customization for characters in this game. They talked about you can play as a female, so that is big news. That was big news to a lot of people. And basically it basically gave you a choice in the earlier part, and how you reacted to that said choice was pretty much how you started the game. So it was kind of a interesting little thing. They gave you the dog. They give you a dog, and you can give the dog commands. Like the dog can like help in combat. He can sniff out, I guess, different parts that you need and different things that customizable stuff. So that's pretty cool too. He can help on. Did I say he can help on combat? Yeah, he can help out in combat. And you have VATS again, so the VAT system comes back, and it's more intuitive. It's crisper, it's sharper. It's shows up pretty good. I like that. I liked VATS in Fallout 3. I thought that was kind of cool, but it just was like I'm just not really into the game. So, but yeah, I think that was pretty cool. Pretty much it's basically you can make a settlement in the game. Like you can take apart buildings and find materials in the world and take those and craft them into something. You can take that stuff and you can craft it, and you can make a settlement, and you can basically other NPC humans can kind of like visit your settlement, and they can live in your settlement. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of like a Farmville, Fallouty, harvesty moon kind of thing. I don't know. It was kind of intuitive, and I think it kind of could add a lot more longevity to a game like that. So that's pretty cool. And now on to Ubisoft. Was it Ubisoft? Yeah, Ubisoft. On the Ubisoft, they showed off Rainbow Six Siege, and it looks awesome. I'm definitely looking. I wouldn't mind playing that because I really did like Rainbow Six back in the day. I used to play Lockdown and dabbled with Little Vegas, but yeah, it was. I like that game. I really do like that series of game, and I want to see how they do with that. Like that is pretty cool. Like you see, like there's destructibility in levels. Like you can if this one area is blocked, you can go in a different way. It's like, oh, we can't get through the stairs, but we need to get up into the floor, or we need to get down. They've blocked the stairs, so we got to get through the roof, and then once we break a hole in the roof, then we can descend into it, and then okay, ground team can come in, blow a hole in the wall, and then they can converge in that way, and then do like a pincer attack. So it's really intuitive. It's really intuitive, and it looks just fun on the bun, like what Bender says. Oh man, it looks really cool. Then they mentioned try not to get my conferences mixed up because I saw a lot of stuff. Um, and then they talked about an open world Ghost Recon, which I was very excited for because I was like, yes, I'm involved because I did like Ghost Recon. So an open world Ghost Recon that's based on, I guess, taking down drug cartels, and they showed like different ways of like taking out one particular mission with like a villain named White Hat. So it was like one mission was like they could take out the drugs and take out White Hat and the operation and like destroy the drugs, or they could go in stealthily and take out everybody, kidnap White Hat and blow up the lab, or they can just commandeer the drugs and then White Hat and then the cartels they take out White Hat. So there's so many different ways of like playing the game, and each mission, you can't. I mean, it's different ways of taking out the same mission, of executing the same mission. I meant to say, executing the same mission. So it's really something nice. It's really something nice, and I wouldn't mind picking that up. I wouldn't mind picking that up either for the PlayStation 4 or the PC. If I get a nice rig, I'm gonna go for the PC. And definitely looking into the game that they talked about was the Division, which, oh man, multiplayer in that game looks brutal, 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 brutal. But if they, I always worry about these games when they try to make these games so innovative and so, with lofty goals. We're going to come more into that statement in a minute. But really, when they start coming up with these lofty goals, like this game is this, and this game has that, and I always get a little bit nervous because I'm like, this is sounding like Destiny again. I mean, everybody loved Destiny. Everybody really enjoyed it, but it really did not live up to the overall hype that it was this awesome, immersive, incredibly game, and it has these big time of world public events, and it's just going to change the way we play games. And it was just a game. It was just a game. It had levels. The overall story was kind of like, okay, sure, the story didn't move people, but the gameplay and the gameplay and the weaponry and the overall simplicity, just the overall mechanics was enough to really hook people and settle people into playing this game for a long, long time. And I think that's what ultimately uh, made like reached people. Okay, let's see. I think that was essentially Ubisoft. And they talked about Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which I think is pretty cool. It's set in London, and you play as two assassins. You can play either or as two assassins, a brother and sister team. So that's pretty good. The names are escaping me, but that'll probably come up in later things. So we'll probably talk about that more in nauseam. But I thought that was kind of cool. I hadn't played an Assassin's Creed since 2, and I dabbled with 3. But yeah, it's basically Assassin's Creed. You basically stick people in the neck, and you basically stick people in the throat, in the thoke, and you just like keep it moving. Yeah. So it's something I probably look at. Kevin Kev might look into that more. Let's see. Yeah, I think that was essentially Ubisoft for me. You know, those 3, 4 games. It's kind of interesting. I was like, oh, cool, cool. I'm invested. Next is EA. I think the only game that really appealed and was kind of interesting to me that I would pick up is Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2, because I love Garden Warfare, and I love playing Garden Ops, and I like playing Graveyard Gardens and Graveyards. So that's like definitely an enjoyable game for me. And you've probably seen a couple of my gameplay montages that I've been like tinkering around with. And even though I stink at that game, I just love throwing myself into a match and just seeing like, okay, let me see how far I get before they take me down. Yeah, I'm loving it. Oh, I took down a couple of this one, and definitely like it's in Garden Ops is like so much fun. And they have like a new mode because this one is more zombie focused. They have a mode that replaces Garden Ops with something that's called Graveyard Ops, and they have 4 new classes of zombie. They have a new melee class, which is like this superhero, Captain Quark s Captain Quark as zombie, and he's like the tank. And then they have a small shooter zombie called the Imp. He's usually the one that's riding on the back of the Gargantua, if you're familiar with Plants vs. Zombie lore. And then there's another zombie. I think he's the sniper zombie. He's like an old timey pirate zombie, like I don't know, Captain Dry Bones or something like that. It was really interesting, and I think that and it was like a new scientist character. And yeah, it was you basically take out waves of plants in this one. So it was kind of interesting. It was cool. I like it. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy it when it goes on sale. I'm a sale guy. I'm gonna buy it on sale. Yeah, I'm into it. Sure. Okay. Other than that, it was they talked more about Battlefront. And they talked more about Mirror's Edge, and they talked about the mobile stuff. And you could really get the sense when they were talking about the mobile stuff, there was like an audible like, all right, they're talking about the mobile stuff, whatever, because majority of that stuff is either play, it's either riddled with ads, or it's play to win, or it's a freemium game, and either it's paid and then you have ads later on. So it's like, mobile, whatever. Blech. Yeah. So they talked about talked about that, and talked about Battlefront, and Battlefront's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna tell you, anytime you throw with me, anytime you put Star Wars on something, I'm immediately into it. I am immediately on board. Or you have my curiosity. I'm saying like, you doing Star Wars, eh? You doing something with Star Wars? Okay, I'm gonna reserve judgment till I look at it, till I go to GameStop and I try these games out, till I go to Best Buy and I try these games out. I'm gonna reserve judgment until I know what this game is about. Until I'm ready to pick up what you're putting down. So they showed off the Battle of Hoth, and it's nice. It is nice. They show both sides. They show the Empire side. They show the Rebel side, and it was actually kind of cool. I mean, it was interesting. It was Hoth. It was Hoth. You can't really mess up Hoth. I mean, you could, but it's really hard to do that. I mean, Hoth is awesome anyway because it's one of the biggest, baddest battles. You know, it's like the Battle of Yavin 4. Is Yavin 4 or Yavin 5? I think it was Yavin 4. Yeah. So yeah, it's. I mean, you can't get more iconic than that. So that is awesome to see people in the trenches shooting back, and then you see Vader pops up, and then oh man, we're boned, and then you look up and it says, "Oh, Luke!" And Luke's got a lightsaber, and he's slicing dudes, and he's force pushing, and then him and Vader clash, and then it's like fade, and it's like battlefield, and I was like, yes, I am picking up what you are putting down, sir and or madam, into it. So yeah, that was basically EA. Um, yeah, okay, I think we've cleared the way. Now we're gonna move on to the Sony podcast. I mean, to the Sony press conference. Why did I say podcast? Oh, well, it is one of them things. I'm kind of overwhelmed. It's a lot of stuff that's been going on today with E3, so I might stammer a little bit. But hey, this is what you look for in this highly produced, wonderfully high quality podcast on the internet. This is the these are the things in which you look for. Okay. So Sony pretty much started with a bang. And they basically they've been teasing it for a while. It was canceled, it was not canceled, it was on hiatus, it was definitely canceled. It was they picked it up, they put it back down. They put it under a rock, they picked it up from under the rock. They dusted it off, they threw it in the dirt. But basically now it is confirmed that Last Guardian is coming out sometime in 2016. And that is made by the dudes and dudettes that have created Eco and Shadow of the Colossus. Oh yes, people were excited. I was one of those people because I was like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Insert deity here. That someone took the somebody actually said, you know what? Let's just bring this game out and just see what happens. Because I was like, oh my god, the game was supposed to come out for the PlayStation 3, and now they're like, yeah, we'll just scrap the engine, try it again, and remake it for the PlayStation 4. So I'm like, I'm just glad that the game is out so I can stop hearing about it. So people could shut up about it. Okay, rant aside. They came out with there was another game that was mentioned. They had a trailer and a uh gameplay footage of a game called Horizon Zero Dawn, and it is basically like it kind of, if you've ever seen Thundar the Barbarian, it's essentially that. It's essentially that, like, mankind was at the height of its technology, and then the it then a cataclysm happened, power was taken away, and then people like just went mad, and then all of a sudden mankind relearned how to use the, like, thousands of years in the future, mankind has adapted to the primitive ways, and the people, and the they show like showing buildings being covered in moss, and trees have sprung up where asphalt is, and it's just, mankind has reverted back to caveman, kind of hip caveman, but like cavemen nonetheless. But there's a secret. There are these strange robotic dinosaurs and animals, and mankind has been like hunting them, or they've been like living in like a weird situation where they're being hunted or they're being persecuted. Nobody knows why there's robotic dinosaurs, but there is robotic dinosaurs, and you see this girl literally fighting this thing with a bow and arrow, and it's amazing. Fighting this thing that's like a freaking Tyrannosaurus slash Stegosaurus with 3 mouths, fighting this thing with like big teeth and crushing ability and missiles apparently, and you see her just take this thing down, you know, like a champ. And I'm like, I don't know the methodology in this, but I can tell you it's awesome. So that was cool to see. They showed off a new Hitman game, so I'm like, if you're interested in that, it's Hitman. It's Agent 47 again, so that was kind of cool. Street Fighter 5, there's no Street Fighter. There's Birdie in it, love Birdie, and it was Birdie and Cammy, so that was cool. She was fighting M Bison. For those who care, that happened. Not gonna really touch on that too much. Um, Next game was No Man's Sky, which again, what I was talking about earlier, it's one of these big lofty games with a lot of promise, but we really have not seen it out there in the wild and have anybody played it. This could be like Spore. It's something that's like, hey, that's this big lofty imaginative thing, and then it really doesn't pan out as much as it should, or servers aren't up and you really can't search all of these planets. But yeah, it's basically you can search pretty much every planet in the game, explore it, discover new worlds, and visit them. And like you can take place in faction battles, and there's wars and like disputes, and there's trading, and there's shipping, and there's exploration. So that's really, if it works, it's going to be awesome. If it doesn't work, it's going to really suck. And it's going to set back innovation for a while, because instead of like everybody's going for these lofty goals, everybody's going to go with a safe bet, and nobody's really going to make games that are interesting and innovative. So that's going to really kind of stifle creation a bit. So I hope that it does well for its sake. And then another thing about creative and innovative, Dreams by I think was it Media Monocle, I think, yeah, Monocule, yeah, Media Monocule, MM, and they're basically the people who created Little Big Planet, which I love, and my lady friends love, and I love. And oh, that game, those series of games is pretty good. They created a game called Dreams, and basically it's like Little Big Planet, but it's more of an artistry tool where you could take the controller, and you can create figures, and you can animate them, and you can share them, I guess, you can share them online, and then other people can kind of like add to your dreams and kind of make them a little bit more creative. I mean, it's interesting. I don't got that kind of time, and it's gonna be cool, weird, and cool to see it. But another thing I was thinking about is it's not going to take people long before people start drawing dicks, because that's pretty much what it comes down to it. I said it the other day, I'm going to say it again. You give people a creative tool, They either can make something really awesome and really creative, or they're gonna draw dicks. That's pretty much it. Creativity or dicks, because people are just like that. People are just like that. Next game is a game called Firewatch, and I mean, it it looks kind of good. It looks like something like Telltale will make. Um, it's about a park ranger and the I guess the park ranger and the day to day things of a park ranger does with like a bigger mystery, and he's talking to this woman on a walkie-talkie and on a radio, and he's basically talking back and forth to her as he's like doing his like day-to-day rounds, but there's a bigger mystery that's going on in the park that he doesn't really know about. And so I guess you do these little missions and objectives that kind of like further along the story. So that's cool. That's interesting. I'm into it. We got another um, DLC pack for Destiny. It's called the Taken King. So if you're into Destiny, you would kind of be excited about that. They talked more about the Assassin's Creed stuff, Syndicate stuff, and they basically talked about they in Ubisoft they talked more about the brother. In this one, they showcased more about the sister and her moves and her moveset, and she is brutal. She kills people with very a definite amount of efficiency. A definite amount of efficiency. She kills people. She kills fools. Okay, the next game is from Square Enix, and it is World of Final Fantasy, and it looks like a combination of Ni no Kuni with that spirit collecting thing of Ni no Kuni, and looks like Pokemon. And it is kind of interesting. Probably look into that more as that comes about. But yeah, it's Final Fantasy. It's pretty good. It's got chocobos and bombs and mob bros, so that's kind of cool. And oh man, we can't speak. And still talking about Final Fantasy, they teased it with a little teaser trailer. And but we don't know the extent of what that is yet. But basic what I seen, and I was looking at it all play out, and I'm like, that looks familiar. Wait, that looks familiar. Where have I seen that from? That looks familiar. And then I was like, and I heard the music, and I was like, huh, no, they can't. They've been teasing and poking at this for years, and they never done it yet. And I can't figure out why they would try to do it now, but apparently they are. And then once the music came in, and I seen the logo, and I seen some of the characters pop in the frame, it all started to make sense. And basically, what I'm talking about is they're going to make a Final Fantasy VII remake. And I was like, no, they're not. They are not. But apparently they might be. They are. So that's going to be something. That's going to be something. As a Final Fantasy and a JRPG fan, I am hopefully optimistic. Because they've talked about this for a long time, since PlayStation 2. They talked about it since PlayStation 3. They talked about it. They teased it. They talked about it. We pretty much gave up around the PlayStation 4 because we figured if they were going to talk about it. And then, no, last year they did talk about it, but it was just them porting over Final Fantasy 7 for the PlayStation 4. And then we were like, you know what? Forget this. We're not talking about it anymore. Whatever. You know what? We're done. We'll play it in our different capacities, but we're pretty much finished. I can't keep going back. I can't keep getting my hopes up for this. I've been hurt too many times. It's like an abusive relationship. You said you changed, but you never changed. You still stayed the same. You never changed, and so we just kind of gave up on it. Next, it was the Devolver had a indie showcase of games. They were pixel art. They're pixel games. If you're interested in that stuff, you'll check it out on your own. Uh, Another cool thing, Shenmue 3, the creator of Shenmue 3 is having a Kickstarter, and Sony thought that that would be awesome to showcase it. So hey, we want to feature your Kickstarter because it's kind of cool. And I'm like, hmm. I thought that was just kind of weird, like to have somebody say, hey, we are this big company that could probably fund your game, but instead of that, we're gonna take time out of our schedule to tell everybody to fund your game when we could have easily funded our game. I think Black Nerd Andre Meadows, I think he pretty much covered it best. He made the observation, and I was like, I totally agree. They could have just funded the game from any one of those studios, could have helped them out and made it an exclusive. But they were like, hey, we'll talk about your Kickstarter, whatever. We'll get some press. Like they were like, oh, we're remaking Shenmue 3. Can you help us? Like that wasn't enough. So that was weird. Next was Batman Arkham Knights. So I was like, yep, that's pretty cool. So that was something. What the? No, no, no. Okay. Sorry about that. A little bit of a stream popped up from somewhere. I'm like, no. I don't know who these guys were, but I really don't want them streaming into my reactions. Anyway, sorry. So next they talked about Batman Arkham Knights. Arkham Knights. Sure, it's Batman. If you like Batman, you're into Batman. I like Batman, but I like Batman the animated series. I don't really play the games, so it is what it is. They talked more about Project Morpheus. It's essentially competition for Oculus and HTC's joint. So yeah, that is something. So that's pretty cool. They talked about PlayStation Music, that they partnered with Spotify to bring Spotify to PlayStation. So yep, that's pretty cool. If you're into Spotify, that's something too. PlayStation View, which is also a thing. And I think that was actually kind of interesting because they're talking about starting either later on in the month or later on in the summer that they're going to be doing a la carte channels. So instead of like you can only pay for the channels that you really are interested in wanting to watch. So I think that's pretty good. And if you're a PlayStation subscriber, you get those channels at a discounted rate. So again, I think that's kind of cool. The next one was PlayStation partners with Activision with Black Ops 3. So it was Black Ops. That was pretty cool. And if you're into Call of Duty, hey, more power to you. That was something to see, and I seen it, and I was like, well, okay, cool. Call of Duty, yeah, sure. Shooting people in the face, robots, explosions, yes, that's something cool. Like it. They had a sizzle reel of some of the stuff that some of them mentioned, but I really would have liked for them to talk more about this. They might have it at the show booth, but I'm really disappointed that they left that in the sizzle reel, but they didn't mention it. They could have mentioned more about Ratchet and Clank because I've seen like bits and pieces of Ratchet and Clank. It's supposed to be like a remake of the first or reimagining of the first Ratchet and Clank, which I hated because you couldn't strafe, you couldn't jump strafe, and your health was like ridiculous, and there was no lock on, and there was no like reticle, so it really sucked. And then when Going Commando came out, I was like, I am on board, and I've been playing a Ratchet and Clank game ever since on PS2, PS3, whatever. So I've always been playing Ratchet and Clank games. And like I think like 2 years ago or last year, I think I beat a crack in time, and I've been playing bits and pieces of Into the Nexus. So that was pretty good. game. But yeah, it was a pretty big omission for me because I really wanted them to talk more about Ratchet and Clank. So that was my only big disappointment, that I didn't see any Ratchet and Clank being talked about, because I think Ted Price coming out and really talking about how awesome that looked would have been really good. Okay. We talked about Disney Infinity with Star Wars. The new 3.0 is Disney Infinity with Star Wars. I mean, that's about it. That's essentially it. Nothing more you can talk about that. Um, Last they talked about Battlefront again. They did an EA. They talked about um. They basically just talked about the new a new level. I believe it was on Tatooine. Believe Yeah, it was on. I believe it was on Tatooine. So they did a Tatooine level. So that looked pretty good. Was into that. Again, more Star Wars Battlefront. I'm into that. Want to play it. Want to try it. Get my hands on it. And they ended the press conference in a variable style. They ended it like they ended it. Was it last year? I think it was last year. I believe it was last year. They ended it last year. Last year they gave us a teaser trailer, and this year they gave us some gameplay, and it was for Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. And it was so good. It was Uncharted. It was really good. I played Uncharted since 2. My lady friend and me she's played it since 1. She played 1, she skipped 2, and she finished 3. So she finished 1, finished 3, and I finished 2 and 3. And I love that game. I love that series of games. And I love playing them, and I want to play them. I want to play it. I want to play this one. Um, they haven't really talked about multiplayer yet. I hope that they have some kind of like multiplayer thing going, because it was kind of a deal that they didn't have multiplayer for the collection, for the remastered collection series. So that's kind of like a little kind of thing, because I don't know about that, because once you finish those games, you're pretty much done. So they have to. So the multiplayer, that kind of like carries on the continuity of the game. So yeah, they need to bring that back. They need to kind of figure out how to make that work. So hopefully, there is some multiplayer in that game, because multiplayer is very important in those series of games after you finish the overall story. So that was so again, in a nutshell, that was E3 day 1. Oh man, so much stuff going on in day 2. We're going to have Nintendo. We're going to have some more booth stuff, some more trailers are going to come out. We're going to get more trailers and stuff. So look forward to this in-depth coverage of E3 with old KKS Gaming, and I'm gonna give you my reactions and my feelings about Nintendo and whatever else comes our way on day 3. I mean on day 2. Oh my God, day 3, day 2, day 4. What? Yeah, day 2. So thank you for listening to this audio reaction thingamabob. If you like this, share it with your friends and family. If you want to see more, just kind of check back with me and all my socials. Uh, Follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/KevCabShow. Like me on Facebook at facebook.com/KKSGaming. Pin us on Pinterest at pinterest.com/KevCabShow. Check us out on our Google Plus page, KKS Gaming 2323. I got 30 followers so far. I'm trying to get 50 followers on Google Plus by the end of June. I'm halfway there. I'm halfway to June. I just need 20 more people. Hey, you can just give me them 20. I'll be happy. If we can get 20, Dang, by the end of summer we can get 100. So I'm hoping that I can get the followers that I need. Try to get more followers on Twitter. Try to expand myself. Hopefully, as this medium grows, I grow, and as I grow, I be able to provide more to you in many different ways. I'm gonna get vlogs. I'm gonna get reviews. I'm gonna get more in-depth coverage. I'm gonna get people. I'm gonna get co-hosts because I'm talking to people, trying to get some co-hosts. You know, I don't know if you're tired of it just being me, but hey, it is what it is right now. So anyway, stick a pin at this. I want y'all to have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Whenever you watch or listen to my content, as long as you watch and listen to my content, and y'all have a wonderful whatever. Take care. Bye-bye.